It officially began today. Great to be with you. We'll talk about it in a moment. I'm Jeff. That's Tom. You're you, and you're listening on 93.3. We really appreciate it. Or you're watching on Warchant TV. Really appreciate that as well. And for those of you in the Heisen Lincoln Law Firm chat, come on in, kids. Let's get the chatter going. Our live chat sponsors Heisen Lincoln Law Firm, dedicated to representing injured clients statewide. If you've been in an accident, call Heisen Lincoln Law Firm, 813-803-0733 for a free consultation. No cost to you unless they win. Your interests come first with Heisen Lincoln Law Firm, the name you can trust for justice, 813-803-0733, or go to the website, heisenlincolnlawfirm.com. Your advocate in times of need, offices Tampa, Heisen Lincoln Law Firm. There you go. Okay, so let's pot him up. Hello, Tommy. How are you, baby? You doing all right?
I'm pumped, man. I consumed everything that we released this morning as though I was a fan, even though I was directing traffic in some of those circumstances, and that's fine. But I was watching all the practice film, all of the stuff we have on our social media, where if you haven't checked it out, people who are listening, follow Warchant on Twitter. And as the guys are arriving at practice and as they're going through the first drills, you can see instant stuff. But Aslan posted over 11 minutes of footage from day one. I saw Dean Williams photos. I saw the write-ups. You guys even did a Warchant rap that is live, so I saw that too. Well, a couple minutes of it because we had to start right away. But I'm pumped. See, I got some thoughts, but I didn't see it in 3D, in reality, the way that you did.
Well, it's a fascinating thing because the first day is a celebration. The first day is less about, position battles or philosophies, what they're trying to implement or anything like that. First days are about, hey, welcome back football, welcome back Florida State football, and welcome back to wrapping your mind around certain segment groups and players and coaches and the schedule and, how it's all going to play out and what you're hoping to see, and welcome in the newcomers and who's wowed us and who hasn't so far. You get just sort of just instant reaction and celebration to that first day. But then they get down to the meat and potatoes. They start practicing, and I feel like the offensive and defensive lines are fairly irrelevant these first few days of practice. Now, you would not have known that by listening to Alex Atkins, who was spirited from the jump and had a lot to say to all of his guys about being detail-oriented. There were no wasted movements. If by chance a player kind of half-assed a drill, they were reminded that that's unacceptable in a very firm tone from Alex with express intent. It was interesting, right? But what I found more fascinating and is observable, and you can deduce some things even on day one, is with the quarterbacks, receivers, and defensive backs. That's really where you can go because those drills don't change much. Those drills don't change almost at all once we put the pads on. They do for the lines of scrimmage. They do for the linebackers, but they really don't all that much for the wide receivers, quarterbacks, and defensive backs. So watching that was very fascinating. And I say the reason that it was very fascinating is, and this may not end up meaning anything, but, and let me marry these two things because I listened to Mike say this and I thought, okay, well, he's got to be pleased with certain guys, maybe a little frustrated with certain other guys. Jury's still out on a bunch of other guys. He said that anytime they come back from a break or a camp, right? So you end spring camp, then you go into the off season, if you will, and then you come back for fall camp. Now, they're always working. We know that. They're able to work out. They're able to communicate to some degree. They're able to get together on their own. That's all expected and all those things. What Mike said in the post-practice interview was that, well, we always expect our guys when they come back from whatever the quote-unquote break was, right? The end of a season, the end of a spring camp, whatever it might be. We've always expected them to come back, and they have to be better than when they left. They have to be better than when we ended the last whatever it was. The next time I see them in a practice setting, they have to be better. That's the expectation. So, that's pretty easy to see and pretty obvious when you talk about a guy that's a freshman that finishes a full season then has an off season, goes into spring, finishes spring, comes into fall camp the next year. If you're reflecting, you can say, oh, man, it's crazy how much different that guy looks from when he first got here. Man, has that guy gotten bigger or stronger or has lost a lot of bad weight or has put on weight or whatever it is, right? Oh, man, that guy looks a lot more confident. Look at the way that he executes whatever the drill might be because he's seen it and done it. And so you see the obvious signs of growth from guys that were once freshmen to now sophomore or sophomore to junior, whatever it might be. It's a little more subtle for guys that have been starters for a prolonged period of time, and you just saw them after a full season, they're third, and then you saw them in the spring, and now you're going to go into this final season, and Mike expects them to be better too. There's two guys that I think day one, anyhow, you'd be like, well, goodness, that seems fairly evident that either they had a great day today or they're on the verge of having a really good camp, and in some cases that's great because they're a starter. In other cases, they're not a starter, but maybe they're going to have to be considered. And I'll start with the thing that I think stood out to all of us more. I guess I don't want to put words in anybody else's mouth. Brock Glenn looked great. I mean, this would be a weird storyline if in 2 weeks we're still saying this. If in 2 weeks we're coming out of practice and everybody kind of is looking at each other like, hey, man, not for nothing, but 11 looks better than all of them. That's a weird thing to think about. It crossed my mind today. Like, watching it, he was putting it on people today, man. He looked like a guy who was better, who was much better. And it wouldn't be hard to be better than the last time we saw him. Obviously, that was an unfair set of circumstances. I'm just talking about the guy's command of the offense, the rhythm, the speed with which he played, the accuracy of the throws, Tom, one after the other. It was spot on. Boom, 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 boom. He made some really athletic plays when we went 11 on 11. Be something to watch. Not that DJ did anything wrong. Not that DJ doesn't look like a guy who's right on pace to be the starter that they brought him in to be. Just that Brock Glenn stood out amongst the quarterbacks today. I thought he looked sharp and ready to roll. Day one. Good for him. May not mean all that much. The other guy, Ventrell Cypress, carried it over from the spring to what I'm seeing now. First day at camp, he looks every bit as good as he did in the spring, which I thought was better than he did in the regular season last year. That wasn't to suggest that as a starter last year he was bad. He wasn't. But he wasn't phenomenal. You weren't blown away. Remember, this was a guy who was the number 2 ranked guy in the portal when he came into Florida State. He had been an all-world player at Virginia, and we knew he was a known commodity. So when he got here, we were like, oh, man, it's awesome. They got themselves a dude. They got the guy. They got one of the portal prizes. They got him. And he was okay. He's all right. Nothing. You weren't like, oh, man, that's first-round NFL cornerback. That's your guy. That's your lockdown. You didn't say that about him at all. You're just kind of like, all right. He seemed like a guy who kept it in front of him. Just kept it in front of him, all right? You didn't have to worry about him getting toasted over the top. You didn't have to worry about him taking too many chances. It was just sort of solid. I'm going to make an argument that I think he's going to be a lot more than solid this year. I think things have come together, and he said as much after practice today. He was made available. So you can watch that breakout and listen to his answers to questions, because it's fairly obvious to all of us how much more comfortable he is. He just seems a lot more at ease with himself, that maybe Florida State, maybe the defensive system, whatever it might be. He seems just a lot more at ease, and he's playing fast, Tom. He's playing very, very fast. I think if I'm just, again, broad observations, day one, I think we're going to be excited to watch this secondary play football. I really do. I think they've got Earl Little Jr.'s got a chance to be very, very good. He's healthy. He's athletic. The green jersey's off, Tom. He's running. He's going. It's go time. You can see it. You can see why people are excited. I think Obviously, Shaheem is going to have a big year. He looks physically great, looks as healthy as I've ever seen him. I think your two corners, AZ, we've bragged about. Mike has bragged about him as well. He seems to think that AZ has a chance to be a first-round draft pick. You throw in the mix what I'm talking about with Ventrell Cypress and the way you've got a chance. If your defensive line is any good at all, I think they could be very opportunistic this year in the secondary. Very opportunistic because they can take some risks. They have the requisite athleticism, and they understand that they don't have to cover for 4 and 5 seconds. If you get to a spot around the 3-second mark, somebody's getting home. And now it's a chance to break on some footballs. And I'm really hoping we see that. You have a more aggressive style of play that has been coached and taught. And so I think you look at that, you look at the players themselves and the depth of talent there. I think there's a lot to be excited about with the secondary this year.
Yeah, those things go hand in hand. Just speaking generally to football, I can recall an example of our Buccaneers turning in a pick 6 against Aaron Rodgers, throwing for Jamal Adams to the outside, and it was, I think, Jamel Dean. And they asked him after the game, "Is that something they ran in camp?" And he said, or they ran on film that you were prepared for? And he said, "No, but when you have a defensive front that's as dominant as ours, I know that the first move is something I can jump on. I know I can because there's not enough time for the second move. So first thing he does, I'm going to play underneath it because I know our front four is going to dominate." And that's the thing that, the defensive line paves the way for those types of turnovers, but you also have to have a little something to you as a defensive back. You have to have a nose for the football. Some guys are just interested in the football not landing in the offensive player's hands. Some guys are looking to put the football in their hands and make a play with it. Yeah. And I think that Florida State has a couple of more of those type guys. It's not any denigration of the defensive backs we've had the last couple of years because they've been very good. I mean, they've been very, very good. And they got really good towards the stretch of last year as well. Jerrion Jones got even more aggressive than he was earlier in his career. But these guys just seem to have it in their DNA. Azareye'h Thomas played receiver. He's got the ball skills. Earl Little looks to be a downhill player. Shaheem Brown loves to be around the football. And if Ventrell Cypress keeps improving, yeah, man, again, with this rotation they have, especially at defensive end, they should be able to affect the pocket, speed up the quarterback, and have a chance to go make some plays.
I think that says the Bobino, not the Bambino, but the Bobino. And he's commenting, or at least he commented on what I said about Brock Glenn. He said he should look better. He should be better than everybody else. He's been in the system longer than everybody else. That's funny to think about, isn't it? Yeah, he does. He does. It wasn't just that he looked better in the sense that there was a great comfort level. He really threw the ball extremely well today. It was accurate. It was from a bunch of different arm slots. It was a bunch of types of throws. He had touch on the deep ball. He had power down the middle of the field. He really threw some seeds down the seam. And Mike was asked about it afterwards about utilizing the middle of the field. He talked about that, hey, obviously quarterback's got to have a lot of confidence in what he's seeing because there's a lot more bodies. It's more congested in the middle of the field. You better know where you're going with the football. Better trust what you see. And that's more my point. We're seeing an evolution with him. That you're right. This is the normal growth when you've been in a system a long time and you get bigger and stronger and you now know the offense and you trust what you're seeing. But it was evidenced today. One day he could look terrible tomorrow. Who knows? He was great today. I'll say that.
We've had a couple of those instances. Now, this was a player making his first appearance in a Florida State uniform in a practice that had a good first day, and that kid's name was A.J. Duffy a couple of years ago, and it didn't turn out to be anything close to that for the rest of his career. So, to your point, it can be one day. But however, with Glenn, he's an intriguing player because I thought in the midst of losing 63-3, he showed a lot of growth from the ECC championship game to the bowl game. If you stayed interested, if you could stay locked in to see some of those plays, some of those throws, the arm power, the decision-making, the internal clock, it was night and day from the ACC championship to the Orange Bowl. Score doesn't reflect it. Still, for him, it's about development. And the other thing about Brock is he wants to make a strong first impression, not just because he wants to challenge for the job. Every quarterback in that room believes that the job should be theirs, or else they wouldn't be here. That you have to be wound up. You have to be, that has to be how you're motivated. But he's feeling it from Kromenhoek behind as well. It might be hype more than substance at this point for Kromenhoek because he's not in the system for very long. He's had just one camp, and that was a bridge because he got hurt in spring camp himself. but he's got to put distance between himself and Luke because, you're one play away. And the last two places DJU has been, the backup has come in and played. For Oregon State, it was because they were trying to cultivate the next man up. He would get a drive even in Pac-12 play. DJ would sit on the bench, and the young backup, who's now with Michigan State and Jonathan Smith, they moved together, got to drive a game. And then the year before, Cade Klubnik obviously came in and replaced DJU. So if you're looking at trends and you're Brock, you're saying, I could be a couple of plays away, not just because of injury, but because, hey, man, the last couple of places he's been, the backup has played. So you're feeling it both ways if you're Brock, and it sounds like he made a statement on day one.
He did. He came out ready to go. He was fired up. He played fast. He played smart. He played athletic. He did a lot of things very, very well. I have other observations. Mike talked afterwards, and you couple that with what he said and what I saw, and we can draw some conclusions about some competition at the various spots that I think will be fascinating. We also have some audio for you and video for you, so we'll get into some of that here momentarily. Off and running for Florida State's football season 2024. Practice underway today. Yours truly and the rest of the Warchant staff out there documenting it all. We'll be out there again tomorrow. Felt good to be out there. Felt good. Hot, Tom. Imagine that. Pretty hot.
Little toasty.
Little toasty in the morning hours as I walked down on the sideline. I thought, okay, it's only 9 a.m. Well, 9 a.m. and I am dripping sweat, but that's the way it should be. Chef Cameron Show 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV.
You probably already know that Pinch a Penny Pools and Spas is your one-stop destination for all pool maintenance needs, offering everything you need from chemicals, cleaners, vacuums, nets, and more. But that's not all. Pinch a Penny also carries a huge selection of premium hot springs, hot tubs, paired with easy financing options, making these luxury hot tubs affordable for everyone. And if you have an older hot tub and you're worried about the hassle of removing it, worry no more. Pinch a Penny will not only remove and haul away your old hot tub, but also offer a trade-in value for a credit towards your new one. So why wait? Visit Pinch a Penny's 12,000 square foot showroom today on Greer Road and discover how effortless and affordable owning a fantastic hot tub can be. Find out more at TallahasseeHotSpring.com. That's TallahasseeHotSpring.com.
Dream it, plan it, do it. Brian Barnard's Flooring America offers a straightforward way to shop with our streamlined shopping. Finding the right flooring is simple. Visit our newly remodeled showroom featuring the Room to Explore shopping experience, where our knowledgeable staff will walk you through the steps. Our family has been serving the area since 1976 with a local staff of more than 35 people trained in flooring sales and design. We know floors, and we know styles. Let us help make your home timeless. Brian Barnard's Flooring America, where friends send friends.
Are we prepared for severe weather any time of year? In an emergency, do we know what to do? Hello, I'm Brian Cerny, inviting you to join me this Saturday morning at 7 for a special broadcast of Tallahassee Talks, featuring all 5 of our emergency service agency leaders, coming to you from the Tallahassee-Leon County Consolidated Dispatch Agency. We'll hear from CDA Director David Odom, Police Chief Lawrence Revel, EMS Chief Chad Abrams, Deputy Fire Chief Mike Haddon, and Leon County Sheriff Walt McNeil. Tough questions and straight answers you need to hear in conversation with the people charged with keeping us safe. A special broadcast of Tallahassee Talks with Brian Cerny. Because staying prepared 365, it's an attitude, not a season. Tallahassee Talks with Brian Cerny special remote broadcast this Saturday morning at 7 o'clock on Real Talk. Brought to you by Sellers on Capitol Circle Northeast, Tallahassee. Tony Kelly Heating and Air Conditioning, Kent's Property Preservation, and Whitten Glass on South Monroe.
Hey, let me tell you about my friends at Tried and True Consulting, a Seminole-owned business that specializes in payments and business solutions. Tried and True's core expertise includes card, ACH, point of sale, mobile, e-commerce, and hosted payment solutions. Tried and True will help you reduce costs and increase your bottom line. That always sounds nice. Whether you're a retailer, restaurant, licensed professional, or service industry, Tried and True is saving you money. Tried and True's expertise extends to payroll, video menu ad boards, IT services, web design, and social media. It's time to make one call and tell the competition to take it on down the road. Call Don or Joe today at 844-464-6653. That's 464-6653. When you do business with Tried and True, they contribute 10% of the net revenue to the Battle's End. So go Tried and True today. Call 844-464-6653. Science-backed, technology-tracked, and coach-led. Hey, Jeff Cameron here. You've heard me rave about the benefits of Orange Theory Fitness and the proven track record of science-backed interval training. Well, now Orange Theory Fitness has done it again, adding more ways for you to improve your health and look your best. In addition to the always great standard workouts, OTF has added Tread 50 and Strength 50 for those in the mood to just lift for an afternoon or attack those cardio goals for the day. Take the guesswork out of exercise. Make sure you're getting the most out of each and every workout. Orange Theory Fitness, location Midtown Tallahassee and Village Square Boulevard.
The Jeff Cameron Show is a production of the Warchant.com Multimedia Network. Check out Warchant.com today for the latest news inside Florida State athletics. That's Warchant.com. Now, back to Jeff on Real Talk 93.3.
It's overreaction first day of camp Wednesday, and that's fun to say. First practice under their belts, and we're off and running. I say overreaction because we all probably overstate any number of things on a day like today, born out of the enthusiasm for the return of football. But there are some observations that I think are fair and reasonable. And I do think, the point I was making about Brock Glenn looking the furthest along and very comfortable in the offense and executing today better than the others is a fair one. I think that stood out. I think that, I got asked a question in that first segment in the chat I saw about the receivers and specifically about Hakeem Williams. Hakeem had a good day today. He came out ready to play, looked to be in great shape, caught the football, had some big moments. Tom's guy that he's tabbed as a possible impact player here from this group at wide receiver, Elijah Moore, the true freshman, his first ever practice at Florida State, had a 70-yard touchdown. That's not a bad way to start your.
Thank you. Okay. I didn't know where that was going to go. He went the way of Jordan Young today. Didn't really do much. We'll have to keep an eye on that. No, there you go. I got in on that one early. That one was before he got on campus.
We liked what we saw in the high school ranks. Mike was asked about it because of true freshman in his first ever practice having a 70-yard touchdown. He was going against a walk-on, Tom. So he torched a walk-on. I want you to know that. It was not a soon-to-be starting corner or safety, okay? just so you know.
Hey, that's what he was supposed to do. Okay.
That's correct. He did what he was supposed to do. And he did it easily, and it looked good. But I thought, all in all, he was impressive to look at to begin with. He looks the part without question. Now, Mike was asked about that, and he did say, yeah, look, it's good to see him get off to a good start, but he's got a lot to learn. And he's alluding to the fact that there were some wrong routes run. There were some things where, you don't know the playbook. It's hard. You can't possibly know it all already. And especially now that it's fast, now that you're doing it and it's real and there's a man across from you and you're being covered and the coaches are watching you. It's not an off-season workout where you're just throwing the football 7-on-7 with some buddies. This is like, that's it. That dude's real. And that's Mike Norvell watching you very closely because he watches the receivers, as you well know, like a hawk, given that he's a former receiver himself. He's there to criticize anything that is a little bit off.
Oh, man, you can make the most spectacular body control twisting catch, and if you don't tuck the ball the right way, he will scream you down like it was John Gruden's NFL films from 2001. I mean, it does get uncomfortable with that receiving group, but that's the attention to detail that he demands, especially – coaches love their position groups. The one that they played, they take pride in coaching those specific position groups. Did he sound the same as always to you today, Mike himself?
Yeah, fired up. He was less angry than he was in the spring. In the spring, he was walking around angry all the time. He was intense, and he literally wore black every day, and he was screaming, and he was maniacal at times during the spring. I remember saying that to you, like, ooh, Mike is pissed. I mean, like not sort of angry about a mistake, but like there were moments, and I'm old, so I remember the way football practices sounded when I played, and I remember the way football practices sounded when Mickey Andrews was here. So I'm not ever a clutch my pearls kind of guy. So when I say this, you'll know where it's coming from. There were some practices this past spring where Mike was right up against that line. where I thought, ooh, man, I don't know. I don't know that that's okay. That seemed to be a little much. Like that moment where you and your good friend are in an argument and it gets really intense and you love each other and you care about what the other one thinks and you're going back and forth, but somebody crosses a line and there's a look and everybody kind of understands, like, hey, man.
Yeah,
we're not doing that now.
No, the look, the facial expression is, you get a pass because I know you.
Yeah, but that's the last one.
That's it.
That's it. Right. There were a couple of
The guy who says it goes, I didn't mean that, and he's, right. I know you didn't.
Let's just, all right, okay, yeah. There were a couple of those during the spring. Mike was excited to be out there today. He was like, let's go. He was much more interested in the speed. He wanted to see, and he said in his comments, in fact, I have all of the comments that he made that I took note of here in my notes. He wanted to see how quickly and accurately they could communicate with somebody lined up across from them while playing fast. So today he said this, in his mind, the way he views this first practice is about operational observations. It's like, how quickly are you processing? How quickly can you get lined up? How quickly can you execute when it's live, when it's real, when it's now, when there's a defender there? How quickly can you do your job and be correct structurally, philosophically, you name it. Like, how quickly can you do that technically? So good to get the insight of what he's trying to look at and where he's going. Let's hear from Mike Norvell. In fact, we have comments from Mike Norvell here, and then I'll comment on those comments. All right, that's what we'll do.
I really thought both quarterbacks, all the quarter. I mean, the young guys still, with Luke and Trevor. I mean, they're gonna. It's going to be the process of continued growth, especially on early days. But I thought, the reads, the looks, sometimes going through a progression. I thought both guys did a nice job. Taking the opportunities in the middle of the field are big because obviously there's usually more bodies in there, and you got to be very certain in what you see, and the timing of it is so critical. So I think it does show a progression and a step of just the confidence in eyes and being able to locate the ball.
Two things, Garrett. Yes, that's correct. It does look and it felt muggy as hell out there. It was soupy. Never fun to describe the weather as soupy.
So other than the soupiness,
go ahead.
I watched that presser. I cut up this one because we were discussing yesterday off the air. Just like, what if Luke pushes? Just, the what ifs of camp. Maybe if that kid, he already has a spring underneath his belt, it's a summer with the playbook, and now he's a couple months already acclimated. What if he pushes? I found that so telling that Coach said our two quarterbacks, well, all of them. I mean, the young guys and Luke too, but that tells me there's a gap there, man. And
it's not close. It's not close. Those two are way ahead of everybody else in that room. So it's Brock and DJ, and then the other guys are figuring it out. And that's fine. That's kind of the way it should be, right? If you think about the order of things. What will be interesting, and it's worth monitoring, and it's a good problem to have, I want competition. I want stiff competition, intense competition. I want guys to be pushed around every turn at every position. That's how you get better. And the best programs have a depth of elite talent that pushes one another every day. So it's almost as if, as coaches like to say, and it's cliche, but it's true, that the games become easy because you're going up against people that aren't nearly as talented as the guy that you're going up against every day at practice. And when it's like that, there are only a couple of times a year where the person across from you has the requisite skills and athleticism because of what school they're attending and how they were recruited and what they were ranked and what kind of athlete they are. There's only a couple of games a year where you're staring at a like situation. All the other games, you're better because the guys you're playing against in practice every day are better than the starters of the team you're lining up against that Saturday. Why do I say all of that? Because I want to see Brock Glenn make us ask uncomfortable questions. I want to see that guy 2 weeks from now. I want to be sitting here saying to you, if I'm being honest, this is neck and neck. We all have an opinion about what we think is going to happen. And it may be a moot point. It's one day. Today, Brock looked great. Better than everybody else today. If in 2 weeks it's readily apparent that DJ was brought in for a very specific reason. He's better. He's further along. He's played more football. He's got the cannon for an arm, and it's his job, no matter what. We won't even really remember this conversation, except going into the next year, we'll remember oh, man, he took a big step. If he takes another big step, he's going to be a real good starter for us. That's the only way we'll be talking about Brock in those terms if that happens. But I would rather actually be in a situation where you have to ask really tough questions like, what do you do if we get much further along in this thing and he's clearly the best option? Ingram doesn't want to hear me say that. The folks at the Battle's Head don't want to hear me say that, but you'd have a solution in the room, and it's a good problem to have. I mean, frankly, it's a good problem to have. I don't know if that's going to be the case. I don't know if that's going to be the case, but it is kind of funny to think about. Like, what happens if, fast forward again, we get past the first scrimmage and they're in full pads and we're like, that guy right there seems to be the better option. That would be weird. That would be weird.
That's a big hill to climb between now and then, though.
It is. Absolutely.
Maybe 10% chance. You'd say, well, it might be 15 after today, Tom, but yeah. That's a big deal because anything that's close is DJ. If it's close, it's DJ.
Oh, this is a prize fight where DJ is the defending world heavyweight champion, and it's going to go to the cards. Well, guess what, pal? I don't care if the world saw the challenger look like he won 9 of the 12 rounds. This fight's going to be given to the defending champ because he didn't get knocked out. And you got to knock his ass out. We ain't going to the cards and giving you the belt. That ain't happening. So that's the same thing. If it's close at all, I don't care if Brock looks to be slightly. DJ is going to start. That's the way that's going to work. It would have to be, I agree with you, overwhelming. Maybe it won't matter at all. I like competition and I want to see competition and I like surprises. I don't mind if we're talking about the depth that a position group, any position group, is getting so intense that the incumbent has something to worry about, or the odds-on favorite to start at a position has something to worry about. That's a good thing. That's not a bad thing at all. I like that. Mike mentioned something else that I thought was interesting, and I want to come back and talk about this, Tom, because I know you're interested and we're all interested in this. And I'll answer some questions in the chat. I saw several that I need to get to, and some of you did ask about DJ, and I'll tell you about that in a second. But in particular, the offensive line, they're not in pads. So we don't learn anything today about how certain guys are going to play once the football becomes real. Once they're out of t-shirt and shorts and they're putting on the pads and the men are duking it out in the trenches, we know and learn a lot more. But there was something that was said that I thought was interesting, and then also the way the reps went seemed to tell the story of why Mike said what he said. And I'll get into it here in a second on the Jeff Cameron Show, 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV.
Your local news now.
More than a dozen illegal slot machines were seized from 4 different convenience stores in Perry earlier this month. The Perry Police Department launched an undercover investigation after being tipped off about a string of gambling machines in stores across the city. An undercover officer went to every convenience store in town in search of the machines, and after 2 weeks, located 19 illegal machines at 4 different convenience stores. 2 weeks ago, the PPD Criminal Investigations Division worked the Taylor County Sheriff's Office to remove all 19 machines from the 4 stores. Authorities also took cash and any related electronic devices. No arrests have been made in the case yet, but PPD said they have requested warrants. Each store owner told investigators they thought that slot machines were legal and that they had leased the machines from another individual for a percentage of the proceeds. The subject that owned the machines was identified and an interview has been conducted. This is Rachel Lene with Real Talk 93.3 Local News Update, brought to you by Macklemore Systems, Tallahassee's go-to Mac store. Check them out online at MacklemoreSystems.com.
This is meteorologist Paul Trombley with your Real Talk 93.3 weather update. Thunderstorms likely this afternoon. Otherwise, cloudy skies expected. Highs around 90. Winds out of the south, 5 to 10 miles per hour. Mainly cloudy skies expected tonight. Chance of thunderstorms. Lows dip down to about 75. Chance for storms tomorrow. Daytime highs approaching 89. Mainly cloudy skies. This report is brought to you by the Lawn Johns. For all your landscaping and lawn care needs, visit thelawnjohns.com. currently 80.
Did you know that the survivability of a metal roof far exceeds that of a traditional shingle roof? At Metal Roofing Sales of Tallahassee, we have new state-of-the-art roll formers that produce the highest quality Versa panel, PBR panel, and standing seam options. And we will guarantee to match or beat any local competitor's pricing. We're a family-owned business, ready to offer you the best sales and installation service in the area. And don't forget about our veterans and first responders discounts. Call Metal Roofing Sales today, 850-536-9123, or visit us online at metalroofingSales.net.
There is no Bigfoot, Eddie. Would you stop with that nonsense?
There's a Bigfoot, Jeff.
I wish there were. By the way, I don't want you to point to me as the guy that takes all the fun out of the room. I wish there was the Loch Ness Monster. I wish there was the Bigfoot. I wish there was the Chupacabra. All the things.
They're all mythical except for the Bigfoot. The Sasquatch.
The Bigfoot?
The Bigfoot. There's big feet. There's lots of them.
So like different, breeds, like different kinds.
There's like families. There's different families. And,
so there's if they're in the snow, you call them a Sasquatch
or the Yeti. Right,
yep,
and then here in Florida, that's a skunk ape, and but
never heard that one. By the way, why do you think it's real? We would have found them by now.
They're the hide and seek champions of the world. Nobody finds the Bigfoot.
I think you believe in Bigfoot.
I do believe in Bigfoot.
You don't believe.
I believe in Bigfoot.
Don't tell anybody you believe in Bigfoot.
I would go look for Bigfoot, but he scares me.
Gordo's bringing the flavor and flair of Cuban food to Tallahassee since 1996.
The Jeff Cameron Show, brought to you by Orange Theory Fitness. 2 Tallahassee locations, Midtown on Thomasville Road and Northside in the Village Common Shopping Center. Online at orangetheoryfitness.com.
Rolling on Big River. This is the first day of practice for Florida State. It's underway. Finished this morning. Mike Norvell spoke afterwards. It was enjoyable to listen to him and watch practice. It was also good to take in the players and what they communicated as well. Lawrence Toafili commenting after practice about that running back room. It's a deep room as well. I was just talking about the secondary. That running back room has got a lot of talent in there, and will be fascinating to see how each of these guys are used. A lot of those guys will push the coaches to get out there. They all seem, and one thing I will say about that, they all seem to root for one another. They're all excited that the other is there. There's no, you don't get a sense that anybody's fighting for a singular starting spot. They understand the rotation. They understand about how it makes them fresher and more effective and better and long-term, how it's better for them. They all say that anyhow, and I believe it. It seems to be a genuine response. And critical for them to have success is obviously whether or not this offensive line comes along. And that leads me to my next point that I teased just before we went to the news there. And that is that, Tom, Mike's comments after practice about the offensive line seems to suggest that this is very much an open competition at right tackle. You can read into what he's saying when he named the guys that they're excited to watch and what they want to see happen. He was asked specifically about Robert Scott, for example. Now, we already know he's basically crowned Darius as the left tackle, right? So if Robert Scott's going to play, to me, it would be at right tackle. Okay. All right. Well, he was mentioned, but Lucas Simmons was mentioned. And where would Lucas Simmons play if he does earn that? Well, that's going to be right tackle, Tom. Darius is going to be the left tackle, right? So now we've just identified 2 people. You have a returning starter in Jeremiah Byers at right tackle. He's out there today. He's fighting for that spot. That's 3 guys that are now trying to play. Who's another guy that we like a lot? Otto, who was also mentioned today. And guess what? He could play right tackle. So I think you have 4 or 5 guys that they're going to be looking at that right tackle spot. And Mike didn't kind of back away from that. He seemed to understand you have some spots solidified from left tackle to left guard to center to right guard. Right tackle, on the other hand, seems to be wide open and available for whoever emerges amongst that group that I just talked about. And that's the sense I get from his comments today.
For me, I take it slightly differently. It sounds like he said today that they're going to be careful with Darius because they know how many reps, he's played, how many snaps he's played. Maurice, the same way. Robert Scott, they've got a plan for. They've got a plan for Byers. So if you've got a plan, to me, what plan means from up here in New York, not seeing practice today, you're going to be more limited. And if it was just Robert that they said they had a plan for, I know what you would do. You'd say, see, always with the plan. But that you're going to mention Darius in there, that you're going to mention Mo and Byers along with Robert Scott, it tells me that you're getting something closer to the Dylan Gibbons treatment, which is I will do what I must. I will do what I need to do, but I need to be fresh because if I'm not available, then we've got some issues. And then Jalen Early's name came up. Lucas Simmons' name did come up before Jalen Early's name, which is notable because they've been talking up Jalen for multiple camps. Lucas, they've been quiet on because obviously he was held back in 1 year ago in fall, the whole of fall. But that Lucas name comes up before Jalen's, and you can, say that perhaps that's just an order of things that has nothing to do with nothing. But that he's in that conversation tells me that, yeah, you're right. If they've got a plan for Robert and Jeremiah, then these next two guys are battling for that position, and Andre Otto should not be counted out as well. So to me, you're looking at potentially 4 or 5 guys for one position, which is where you want to be. This is how it's supposed to be.
If those players are good, that's exactly where you want to be. You're right. Like if you think those are good players for you, then you like that you have a depth of competition. There's no doubt. And I think that one of the other things to point out here too on the other side of the ball is I really loved what he had to say about Cam Riley. I'm excited about Cam Riley. I haven't commented on him yet. He is as I thought he would be. To see him in person on the hoof, as they say, a really big dude. 6'4", 6'5", somewhere in there, 245. That's a big guy, and he moves well. He's athletic. We know that he comes over from the SEC, and he's played in those games, so he's going to have the physicality. I think Mike's intrigued by him because of the way he answered that question. He was out there today in the mix, Tom. It wasn't like a get acclimated thing. I saw Ernie talking with him specifically a few times. One of the things you try to gauge when you're watching practice isn't just like, because anybody can have a good day. Like I mentioned earlier, Reckland had a great day. Everybody saw that. That's why Mike Norvell commented on it. He's asked a question about it, he agreed, and he commented on it. Now that admittedly may not mean anything long-term other than Brock had a good day today. We all think DJ is going to win the job. We think DJ is going to be the starter, etc. But it's nice to see growth from certain players. That's all you're talking about. But what I also do is try to look at who are coaches riding. Who are they really communicating with on a very consistent basis? Because that means that you can find out that there are real expectations for that player and where they want them to be or where they think they can be, right? It's like, be careful. If the coach isn't yelling at you, that's when you have a problem. You want to be screamed down. You want to be yelled at. They think you got a little something to you if you're getting yelled at. Otherwise, they wouldn't waste their time. They're not screaming down walk-ons. They're screaming down players who they think have real expectations to contribute in some capacity this year, whether that be as a starter or as a backup getting reps, maybe it's special teams, whatever it is. So rather than just trust my eyes, because that can be biased, good day, bad day, good week, bad week. Did you happen to see all the reps where they performed well, but you missed some of the others? I don't get to go back and watch film. So if I'm watching a segment group and I may miss an entire period of practice where the guy that I thought had a good day was terrible in that period. It could be. So you don't know, but you can always follow the coaches. You can always listen and watch intently to see who are they yelling at, who are they correcting, who are they spending time with, who do they pull out of a segment group to talk with about whether it's technique or if it's information that informs the next rep, whatever it might be. And Cam was getting a lot of attention today, Tom. A lot of attention today from the coaches, and a lot of conversation, and a lot of, hey, showing him this, showing him that. But what Mike said about Cam, and this mattered to me, was that he is a quick learner and that he's very smart. Well, that's important. That's very important because he has a limited number of days to get this figured out so that we can use the physical. I got to have the mental be where it needs to be, that I understand the defense, and I didn't get started in the spring. I wasn't here in the spring, right? If you're Cam Riley. I got this camp to get it figured out. Helps to be smart. Helps to be a quick learner. Nice to hear the head coach say it, because I don't think he would have said it just to say it.
Agreed. He doesn't typically do that, and it creates expectations. If you're going to say something like somebody's smart, you're creating expectations, like you're talking about, that he can assimilate into the defense, to the new scheme. He can do so quickly, and it also at linebacker is very important that you're smart. This is a position where you need to be smart, like quarterback. Defensive tackle, do you have to be? No. If you are, it's a bonus. And we've had a lot of smart defensive tackles here at Florida State over the last little while. But you don't have to be worrying about diagnosing things. Usually, if it's about alignment, the linebacker behind you taps you on the hip and you move from one place to the next.
Right.
So you really need to be on your P's and Q's and smart at linebacker, especially because there's no holdover here. DJ Lundy played a lot in running downs, and DJ Lundy was excellent against the run. But last year it was Bethune and Deloach, and they communicated seamlessly together. And the only way you can do that instantly, it saves time. Every half a second matters in getting aligned and understanding your assignments and trading off responsibilities, as they talked to the media and they said that they've done from time to time. The play against Clemson, I believe they traded responsibilities on who was actually going to rush the passer on that play.
Right.
Well, you can't do that if you are swimming and you're trying to remember what your responsibility is and take a look at what the offense is doing. You've got to be smart. And the communication at that level, the linebacker level this season, to me, is one of the biggest question marks. Can they do that? Can they be seamline? Can they get information in? That the head coach says that he has a smart linebacker transfer coming in from Auburn by way of NC State for 5 minutes with a commitment is really good news, because somebody's got to step up and stand next to DJ and be able to communicate. And maybe this is just that guy.
Yeah, I double-checked it just to make sure that I wasn't crazy, because I knew he looked big. The roster has Cam Riley listed at 6'5", 237 pounds. Yeah, that's he could easily be bigger than that in terms of weight. He's got room to put on more weight. They may not need him to do that, may not want him to do that at all. Hey, by the way, I should make mention of this. The freshman kicker, Jake Weinberg, kid's got a leg. That kid's got a leg. He's not starting, but he's got a leg.
Well, he hit a 70-yarder in training. And he said he tried a 71-yarder and he hit the crossbar, and he was disappointed by that. So you're telling me that you would buy it, that it wasn't on a tee. I mean, they have it on film, so it happened. But just with your own eyes, you can see that he's got an NFL cannon for a leg.
Yeah, man, I think we're going to be all right both at punter and kicker. The other punter is really good, too. He had a great day. We're going to be punting and kicking your asses off here, boys. We're going to be all right. Riley wants to know, how did Knight look? Elijah Moore, Landon Thomas. Ricky Knight the third, looked okay. I didn't see a ton of reps from him. I don't know that I expect a lot from him in year one, but he was there were two plays. He made two plays where I was like, who's that? And, you zero in, try to get the number. You forget what a guy's number is from camp to camp, or if he's a new player like that, you're like, what's that number again? So he had two plays that stood out to me. Elijah Moore, I mentioned at the start of the show, physically looks the part, had a 70-yard touchdown. Again, that was against a walk-on, but he still had it. First day of camp, first ever practice at FSU, and he looked comfortable. Looked comfortable in the drills, looked physically ready. And I thought that readiness part of your question, Elijah physically looks ready. We don't know. Mike Norvell said, he's got a lot to learn. So we'll see how quickly he can pick up the playbook and be trusted. But he's physically looking like he can handle the rigors. And then Landon Thomas we saw in the spring, of course, and he looked great. Nothing happened today with Landon Thomas that stood out to me in any way. He had some the reason I say that is he had some good days in the spring.
I saw one of them with a couple of blocks that were he had a pancake one day in the open field.
Yeah, Landon had some big days in the spring that excited everybody. Kyle Morlock is a grown-ass man. That is a big dude, and he has gotten bigger, Tom, and I do think that there's a chance he's a much better blocker this year. We'll see. They don't have pads on today, guys, so I cannot say definitively that he will be. But he looks like a man who has spent some time trying to get bigger and stronger. He is he's an impressive-looking athlete. Let's put it that way.
We could use that. Okay. You need to have more solutions there to be able to say that you feel okay about an inline blocking tight end. Kyle's principal function is not going to be that, but he's got to be good enough that you play him honest.
Yeah. Well, you're not giving it away, right?
Yeah. I know that Jackson is potentially that guy, but he's got to stay healthy through camp. but he plays with a mean streak. I was very impressed with him down the stretch of spring camp.
Stevie, I mentioned this earlier, but I have no problem answering it again for anybody who has questions about the very first day. Yes, Coach did speak highly of Cypress. We talked to Cypress after practice. I have been saying this in spring, just so you know. I think Fintrell looks like a different player. I just do. Something about him. He's playing so much faster. It could very well be that last year was an acclimation year. Pretty good season for a guy who was getting acclimated, but he looks so much more comfortable now. He plays faster. Also, I don't want to play amateur psychologist here, Tom, but he just seems happier and more, you got to imagine coming over from Virginia. And I don't want to read too much into this, but they had the tragedy there.
Yes.
And then you leave that program and come in here. You're the new guy, high expectations. He does play. He starts. He's okay. He's better than okay. He's pretty good. But he wasn't the player that we thought he was going to be. He's now playing like the player I thought he was going to be when he first got here. And that's what I'm trying to convey, is that he plays faster with more confidence. And that's not my opinion. He said that today. He said those words today, and the coaches are noticing it too. So that's not sort of a, hey, Jeff seems to think this. I don't know if the coaches do. The coaches said it, and he has said it. And you can see it. So all I want to point out with that is we all think that Azareye'h Thomas is going to be a great player for the team this year. Well, if Fintrell is his equal, they're going to be in really good shape. Hour number 2 forthcoming. Stay with Jeff Cameron Show 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV.
Look at that. Day one already on the seams, y'all. Already on the laces.
Back behind the goddamn shoe. Are we clear? Stop that lazy You're already sorry. So why not do a little I was sorry you know? Hey, John back. Go ahead, whatever you got, do a little thing right. Hey. under my armpit. All right, tight hands, tight elbows. Start your feet. No contact. Good. Work that shit. Too slow. Push. Head up. Head up. Got to see my target, right? Got to see the target, baby.
Today at 850-727-4282. That's 850-727-4282 or hearthpatiotallahassee.com.
Widden Glass has been taking care of business since 1945. When you call Widden Glass, you're dealing with experienced, reliable professionals who offer only the best. Like Widden's top-of-the-line bath enclosures that provide style and luxury at an affordable price. Eye-catching storefronts are a specialty at Widden Glass. We'll help you design it and install it. Widden Glass, the first name in glass replacement. Call 222-5781.
Summer festival season is going on now at Chawan Korean Steakhouse, and that means prizes and giveaways every single day for guest dining between 6 and 7 p.m. Bring all your friends and family, and every dinner purchase between 6 to 7 p.m. is an entry to win exclusive giveaways like 55 and 65-inch TVs, iPads, earbuds, and gift cards. Winners are picked at 7 p.m. every single day while supplies last. Don't miss out. It's the Summer Festival at Chawan Korean Steakhouse, Tallahassee's most unique and interactive dining experience.
Science-backed, technology-tracked, and coach-led. Hey, Jeff Cameron here. You've heard me rave about the benefits of Orange Theory Fitness and the proven track record of science-backed interval training. Well, now Orange Theory Fitness has done it again, adding more ways for you to improve your health and look your best. In addition to the always great standard workouts, OTF has added Tread 50 and Strength 50 for those in the mood to just lift for an afternoon or attack those cardio goals for the day. Take the guesswork out of exercise. Make sure you're getting the most out of each and every workout. Orange Theory Fitness, location Midtown Tallahassee and Village Square Boulevard.
Broadcasting live from Florida's capital city, this is the Jeff Cameron Show, brought to you by Orange Theory Fitness on Real Talk 93.3. Now, stop what you're doing and listen closely. It's time for the Jeff Cameron Show in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Watch the show on YouTube, Warchant TV. Appreciate you. And for those of you, better yet, that are right there in that chat, Heisen Legal Law Firm chat, we appreciate you as well, and everybody else that tunes into the show. Thanks so much for that. Good to have it back. Good to be back. Good to be out there taking in practice, gaining context, talking about position battles, listening to coaches instruct, scream, flip out, praise, all those things, the sights, the sounds. And I might add, the first hour of the practice, Tom, there was not a whole lot going on in the way of construction next to those practice fields. And Corey and I were looking and thinking to ourselves, how's anything ever going to get done around here if every time we come out here to practice, I don't see any work being done? There's like just one backhoe and a whole bunch of people standing watching the backhoe. But then, second hour of practice, I saw like 25 guys doing the rebar, buddy. They were getting to work. It was like time to get it on.
Yeah.
The real work was being done.
Well, maybe they coordinated with coach as to times that they should be out there, times they shouldn't be. Head football coaches talk about all that kind of stuff. Maybe they wanted communication to be a little bit cleaner early on. They didn't want to hear a whole bunch of noises beeping and things banging.
Those people keep beeping and beeping.
Is the stadium coming along? You know, is the hole in the side of it completely gone?
You can't go by there. You're not allowed to park over there, Tom. I couldn't see anything over there. They have us parking in left field outside the baseball stadium.
Literally.
Yeah. It's outside the baseball stadium. You got to walk this little walkway, this little shallow area skinny area where you got to go before you can walk back around. I didn't get a chance to explore over by the stadium, but I am not a rule follower per se. Never really have been. I break the rules, don't like the rules. So there's a good chance with the next 2 days, Tom, I'll give you a solid report as I sneak onto the grounds and see whatever it is I feel like looking at before they kick me out. That's what I'll do.
That's fair. That's fair. I mean, they've got the Earth Cam that we usually pull up from time to time, but practice footage take precedence over that today. But it does seem like the giant hole in the side, which was unfathomable when I got down there last April to see. It's just, you can't believe that you're standing in the parking lot and you're looking at the 20-yard line right in front of your face. It's just funny. But it does look like they've got the basis for whatever the luxury area is going to be in between the 20s.
I'm so fascinated by how this is all going to look. I've seen the artist rendering, but when it's happening, when you go over there and you do look at what they're trying to accomplish and you kind of see really the outlines of what they're doing, and some of it's filling in, of course, it's hard to picture it as completed and looking, I don't know, pleasing to the eye. It hasn't reached that place yet. It hasn't moved to a place yet where it's aesthetically something that I like. And just my opinion. It's I don't see anything that they've done so far where I'm like, oh, that's going to be awesome. There hasn't been one of those moments. It's been what they're doing there. I don't know. Maybe it'll be good, but I don't know. that's the internal dialogue. That's my internal dialogue. I'm like, God, it's all right, I guess. You know how when everybody likes something and then you're the one who doesn't, and they're all going on and on about this piece of pizza or food item or ice cream or whatever it is, you're like, I don't know. I don't get it. I don't know what the hell you guys are all in love with this for. It's all right.
That was the movie Anchorman for me, because before I could go see it, all of my friends in high school were quoting it up and down, and I knew everything that happened. And so when I saw it, nothing was new. And that
it was ruined for you.
And so therefore I was a counterculturist who said that this movie's not so great. And then after many watches over many years, like, this is a pretty great movie. I just had friends that weren't considerate. That's all.
Oh, man. That's fair. That is absolutely fair. So day one, I go to these practices completely as a fan on day one. Now, I know I got to put an analyst's hat and a talk show host's hat on, and I jot notes accordingly and outlines accordingly. But I do, even 8 years later, go to this thing as somebody who's just excited that football's back, Florida State football's back. And I allow that first 15 minutes to be just completely, I can't believe, A, I get to do this. They're still paying me to do this. That's amazing. And B, let's go Noles. That's what that's the first 15 minutes. That's me. And I just wanted to share that joy, because those whistles and the sound of the war chant echoing throughout the indoor practice facility as I'm holding my cup of joe, walking up to the practice from left field at Hauser, reflecting on how great a baseball season we just had, they had a camp going on for youngins out there at Hauser today. The field looked immaculate. I can hear baseball instruction. I'm immersed in baseball right now on a nightly basis. And I love the smells. So I love that. Got a whiff, put my eyes on it, thought that was great. Turned the corner, and it shifted to Florida State football with the war chant blaring in that indoor practice facility, the sounds of whistles, the sounds of Mike Norvell screaming to hurry up. And, there's always a hurry up. You always hear that. And that was him bright and early this morning. Came around the corner, got my new press badge for the for the fall. And got right when you come in, say hello to everybody, walking through the archway there, smelling the fresh cut grass of the practice field, feeling the heat of the moment, quite literally, the humidity of the moment, a reminder that football is back. This is the way it feels whenever we get back to camp. It feels like this. Never nice. Always this kind of soupy nastiness. That's fine. That's fine. Seeing the occasional stray guy on the bike. Go tell it to Moses McCray. On the bike, seeing guys with the band stretching, doing, the guys that are going to miss the practice for the day. I could make a joke here, but I get in trouble because there was a guy over there who's frequently over there. And I was like, come on, man. They haven't even started practice yet. What are you doing? Tom, I'll tell you off the air, I was so pissed. I made a friend of ours laugh. I was like, really? This slapdick is over here again? I was so mad. But
why do this? Why?
It worked out. Then I went into the indoor practice facility and we got it underway. Good times. Nobody got, knock on wood, nobody got hurt. Everybody was all right. Get through today. The fan in me once again points out that that's the other part. Can we just get through the day? I know some guys are going to look good. Some guys are going to look a little rusty. Some guys are going to look like, I'm intrigued. Other guys, hadn't got any better. Okay. You're calculating it all. You're doing the math of it all. But at the end, you say, please nobody get hurt. And that's what I'll do from now until they fly to Ireland. Is please nobody get hurt. There'll be a lot of talking points and things to point out and analyze and discuss and all that in between. But largely, I'll just be saying, please don't get hurt. We had so many offensive players hurt last year. I can't bear to see another season like that where it's so one-sided. And I get football's a physical game and a violent game and people are going to get hurt. It happens every year. It can't all be on one side of the ball the way it was last year. And yet I know they went 13-0. And I can't say this. I don't think, I don't think I'd get in trouble for this because it's a good thing. Somebody asked about it. It was nice to see Destin Hill out there, Tom. It was nice to see him out there working out. He wasn't practicing. Everybody knows that. This is all that. But it was good just to see him looking good, looking like he's excited to attack his whatever his rehab is going to constitute. It was nice. It was nice. And again, I'm not saying that as it portends to anything. Just good to see the young man again. I'm rooting for him, and I hope he gets healthy as quickly as he possibly can. I'm not going to put any words out there about when that would be or anything like that. I don't know, and I can't discuss his medical situation. I'm just telling you, it just looked good to see the kid out there doing his thing.
I just enjoyed that you brought up that you still enjoy doing this and it gives you the butterflies, because it does for me too. When I was down there in the spring for the few that I got to see, you get into the rhythm of practice and how lucky we are to see the practices the way that we do. You grew up in this business seeing something very similar to what you see now with Mike Norvell. I didn't. I got Jimbo. And Jimbo's first spring, we were given more access. Jimbo's first fall in 2010, we were given decent access, and then no more. Never again, never to be seen. Yeah. And then nearly 10 years later, Mike Norvell says, well, I'm going to do things a different way, and I couldn't wait for that. And even still, for sometimes those open periods under Jimbo, you get excited because it was day one. You just got to see a lot of players' first impressions of what they look like, how hard they hit the gym, what the freshmen are like. That was something on day one. But by day 4, you're watching the same walkthrough drills that you learn nothing with. You learn absolutely nothing with.
There was no reason to be out there.
And so it would go away. The joy would go away very quickly. In this instance with this coach, and you get to see so much. And my favorite part is when you're getting into about period, 9 or 10, the music is going. It mixes up every day. So you get a little bit of something that we like, a little bit of something that a 19-year-old or an 18-year-old would like. You're taking your notes. You're watching the ball go through the air and somebody make a play on it, be a receiver or a defensive back, and you're just pinching yourself. Like, holy cow. And I remember thinking a couple of years ago, as this team they lost those 3 games in a row, the 10-win season. I wonder how much what I'm watching now matters in the national college landscape. And I remember last year going and saying, what's happening here definitely matters in the national college landscape. And that's the way it should be. That what happens here is on the minds of people around the country. And not just because we're the first to start. And you see some accounts going, football's back. Look at down in Tallahassee, they're practicing. What Florida State does now on an annual basis, not in a legal setting, but on the field, matters greatly in college football. And that always gets the juices flowing.
You and I were talking off the air this morning before practice began today about the receivers. And, the reason we were talking about this seems self-evident, but it was also, I think, reignited by the fact that Mike specifically, when asked the question about what position group needs to take a big step forward for you guys to get to where you want to be. I don't know if that was Brendan Sonnone or who that was. Somebody asked that question up in Charlotte. I was standing there, and so I give credit to whoever it was that asked it. I don't know who did. And he answered that question and by saying he talked about the receivers. He kind of took a cursory glance at every segment group and said they need to get better. Of course, the coach is going to say that, but he specifically talked about the receivers. And, watching Luane McCoy play football as a freshman, I know how much you and I are excited to see Elijah Moore because of what he brings to the table physically at 6'4". But McCoy had a really good camp in spring and was making a name for himself before he got dinged and missed the fall, the spring showcase because of that, injury, minor injury, whatever it was. But he was back out there full speed today and looking good. And, he always turns heads. You guys often ask us, the ones that are at practice, who are guys that maybe nobody's expecting anything from that might have a chance to really help an offense or a defense out. I think he's the one. I think he's the guy that I would tell you specifically that most of us would name, that at least once a week during spring, he did something where you went, oh, who's that again? And you were really impressed by, it could have been a route, could have been a great catch, could have been speed, whatever it was. There'd be something that, the coaches will always say this about a player, so-and-so flashed today, or, so-and-so caught my eye today. McCoy catches your eye at least twice a practice. There's a moment and a drill, whatever it might be, where you go, there he is, out there kicking ass again. That's probably the guy, Tom, that of all the freshmen we should talk about. I think he's got a chance to play a role this year with them. I really do.
In what manner? Because when I was down there in spring, I didn't catch those days. I was lucky enough to see a couple of excellent Malik Benson, DJU days. Landon Thomas was very good when I was there. Some of the running backs, like Keziah, was excellent. But Luane, not as much. And again, I wasn't looking for him. and one of the days was Trent stuff. So I usually meander over to where the hog mollies are. And so I don't see a lot of the 7-on-7 stuff. When they all get together, sure, I can take a look. But I miss those individual periods or those 7-on-7s. So what would you liken Luane McCoy to in terms of a past FSU player?
I think he's got a shiftiness to him that stands out. So any number of receivers that have come through Florida State have had that, but he has that one. It's not ordinary. You see it and you go, ooh, it's just a quickness in shorts in small spaces where he's there's a suddenness to what he does. So you're not going to look at him and go, like, when you look at Hakeem Williams, you're in awe that somebody could look like that. I mean, Hakeem Williams looks like an NFL wide receiver. Not saying he plays like one yet. He looks like an NFL wide receiver. If you went to see the Bucs camp or the Giants camp or the Dolphins camp and you walked out there and Hakeem Williams walked by and you didn't know who he was, you'd be like, yeah, that makes sense. He's a professional football player. He looks like a professional football player. You wouldn't say that about McCoy at all. You wouldn't think it. But then when you watch him run and you see that suddenness and the crispness with which he runs routes, you think, oh, wow, that could play right now. If he's mature enough, does he know the playbook? Can he handle it when the lights are on? We're talking about practice, and we didn't get to see him in the spring showcase. So in practice, he handles all of these things very, very well. I don't know the answers to those questions, and the coaches will have to discern whether he can handle it or not, and that will dictate whether or not he gets out there. But his physical attributes are such that I think he looks more ready to aid this receiving room than any of the other young guys right now.
I find that fascinating because he also has pretty good size. 6'1" is what he's listed as on the roster. You would agree that that's probably a reasonable assumption?
Yeah, I think it's about right. Yeah, I've stood next to him. Yep.
Well, that's where Jaylen Brown is. That is Malik Benson is in that ballpark as well. Yeah, 6'1" on the number. So that's pretty good size. It's not, Ja'Kai Douglas. So you've got somebody who can be a tweener in terms of where they line up. But if he's got shiftiness and he's got 6'1" size to play over the middle, I could see where that weapon might stand out. One of the players that I was thinking of when you were talking about suddenness of movement, maybe this is a bridge too far this early in the career, Preston Parker.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, don't you dare say Peter Warrick.
No. Preston Parker was a Swiss Army knife type weapon. He was listed at 6 feet tall, but he had some serious suddenness to him, and that was when I was a student too. So that's where my mind always goes first.
By the way, you know what else Preston Parker had? A whole lot of what for.
Yeah.
A whole lot of what for. My man wasn't having it. It was a violence to him. He made me nervous. He's kind of like, okay. I like there are guys, this is in any walk of life that you work with. You're like, yeah, that guy can handle things if something went down. And other guys you look at like Ted's by the copier. You're like, Ted would take an ass kicking in any situation. I don't think Ted could do a damn thing to help himself in this situation. Others you look at, you're like, this guy's got a little darkness to him. I think he's tough. He's in his eyes. There's something, a little sparkle, something happening there. He's seen some things. Preston had that look to him all the time. I was always kind of like, I feel like if we were to throw down, I might lose that battle with the quickness.
He's willing to go places I'm not. Yeah, that's usually the first thing in the assessment of a fight. There are times when you might be on the other side of somebody who's willing to die, and that doesn't make any sense.
You're like, no, I'm at AJ's. I'm not willing to die.
This guy does not care, and I'm not sure it's the booze or any other controlled substance. I think this guy in general just doesn't care if he lives or dies.
You don't want to fight people who don't care if they live or die. That's a deal breaker. Yeah.
We're going to have to find a way to remove ourselves from this situation without testing that theory. That's what we're going to have to do.
Briley writes, Jeff, is it just me or does the offensive line as a unit look like they're carrying their weight much better? Numbers may not have changed much, but it looked like to me the body comp improved dramatically. I think that about a lot of guys now, Briley, on this team. I think that about Josh Farmer. I think that about Darrell Jackson. I think that about, there are guys on this team on the line of scrimmage, period. And Tom has wiped up the footage now of this offensive line practicing from this morning, and I appreciate that. It's fascinating. I think that Coach Storms has done a very good job of transforming a lot of kids on this roster. It's always most notable to me with offensive and defensive linemen because they're the candidates that carry the most amount of bad weight. They're big-ass dudes. You're molding big-ass dudes. So you're always going to see a guy who comes in at 300-plus pounds if he's on the line of scrimmage, and there's usually some weight that could be redistributed, right? That's how I would say it. And I think for the most part that's true. I'll tell you somebody who doesn't look the part as far as – I'm not going to body shame here, but when I look at Richie, I think, I don't know how in the world he's that athletic, but he is, to my point. He is that athletic. He's got great feet. He can move. If you just saw him, you'd think he's got to get it together. I'm going to have to get it together. This isn't going to work. But then you watch practice and you're like, okay. You look how you want to look. Get out there and do what you got to do. You eat another ice cream cone if you want to.
As the kids say, you're on one today. Because I don't want to body shame anybody, but I'm like, oh my God, where are we going with this? Where are we going?
I'm saying some guys look sloppy. It's not new. You go out there, you go to a football practice, you're going to see some dudes that look sloppy. Big men colliding with one another. You see this, it happens. And sometimes you think to yourself, that guy would do well to kind of get that reshaped. Other guys look like that, and they're unbelievably athletic, and you go, okay, keep all that weight. You do you. Move as easily as you do with all of that is impressive. So it's a compliment. You may not think it is, but it's a compliment to him. He doesn't, to me, look like a guy who could move that well. But he does move that well. So that's the compliment. Speaking of moving well, can't do it if you're chafed. Can't do it if you're chafed. You don't want to be chafed. It's hot. Mowing the lawn, going for a jog, being at a football practice, whatever you're doing outside in Tallahassee in July could lead to some issues. Go to see my friends at Manscaped. Manscaped.com. You get some boxers with a certain kind of pouch that they have, and you're good to go. Less chafing. More comfort. You've got the crop preserver to go with the crop soother. Salve. Soother. It's a lotion for there. Everybody loves a lotion for there. Got to make sure you're good to go. The lawnmower, if you got ear hair, nose hair, you're just generally disheveled, don't look like you got it together, let's get that lawnmower in action. Manscaped.com. Use the code WARCHANT to get 20% off and free shipping with the code WARCHANT at Manscaped.com. That's 20% off, free shipping, Manscaped.com. Use the code WARCHANT. That's how you keep your summer and everything else together. Chef Cameron Show 93.3, Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV.
No matter how busy life gets, your home is the place where your family and friends show you they care and celebrate with you. That's why the professionals at Barano Heating and Air Conditioning always make sure your home is comfortable. Just like those who matter to you most, Barano will always be there for you.
This is Tyler from Barano Heating and Air. Now you can schedule an appointment, purchase or renew your service agreement, or pay your bill from your mobile device. Any day, anytime, anywhere. When you turn to the experts at Carrier and Barano Heating and Air, online at baranoac.com.
Florida license number CAC 1816186.
Barano Heating and Air Conditioning.
Hey, no fans, our partner ISF Inc. is a national management and IT consulting firm located right here in Tallahassee, Florida, solving the future for state governments through strategy, process, and technology. As a trusted advisor for state governments, ISF knows the importance of defining a clear and detailed strategy. Our friends at ISF can help your organization create a strategy that sets you on a path to success. ISF, your vision plus our expertise brings your brilliant ideas to life. Visit ISF.com to learn more. ISF, solving the future. Power Mill Training Academy equips motivated athletes focused on baseball and softball with the specific tools to reach their true potential. Now, you'll read that if you go to their website, but I'm here to tell you that, look, whether it's your daughter wanting to play softball, your son wants to play baseball, or maybe they just want to have fun and get the most out of their abilities, and that's where Power Mill comes into play. They've got coaches and camps that teach for every level of play for your son or your daughter. To learn more, go to PowerMillSports.com. Games for Less, Tallahassee's largest selection of new and used games, as well as new and used consoles like Nintendo, Super Nintendo, Atari 2600, PS4, and PS5. You name it. Locally owned and operated since 1994, trade-ins are not only welcome, but Games for Less pays more for your trade-ins than the big chain stores. That's not all. Games for Less now buys and sells new and used vinyl records to boot. George loves the Beatles, by the way. Reserve all the new releases today at Games for Less, conveniently located in the Walmart Supercenter Plaza on Appalachian Parkway.
You probably already know that Pinch a Penny Pools and Spas is your one-stop destination for all pool maintenance needs, offering everything you need from chemicals, cleaners, vacuums, nets, and more. But that's not all. Pinch a Penny also carries a huge selection of premium hot springs hot tubs paired with easy financing options, making these luxury hot tubs affordable for everyone. And if you have an older hot tub and you're worried about the hassle of removing it, worry no more. Pinch a Penny will not only remove and haul away your old hot tub, but also offer a trade-in value for a credit towards your new one. So why wait? Visit Pinch a Penny's 12,000 square foot showroom today on Greer Road and discover how effortless and affordable owning a fantastic hot tub can be. Find out more at TallahasseeHotSpring.com. That's TallahasseeHotSpring.com.
Science-backed, technology-tracked, and coach-led. Hey, Jeff Cameron here. You've heard me rave about the benefits of Orange Theory Fitness and the proven track record of science-backed interval training. Well, now Orange Theory Fitness has done it again, adding more ways for you to improve your health and look your best. In addition to the always great standard workouts, OTF has added Tread 50 and Strength 50 for those in the mood to just lift for an afternoon or attack those cardio goals for the day. Take the guesswork out of exercise. Make sure you're getting the most out of each and every workout. Orange Theory Fitness, location Midtown Tallahassee and Village Square Boulevard. Just wanted to say that. Good times. It's the start of practice, Tom. I just wanted to have a good sucking Clemson in there.
Wow.
Let's go.
What a lovely day. I expected to hear a return liner. You're like, nope, no return liner. I'm just going to play a sounder.
I just went with suck it Clemson. That's all I did. That's good times. Oh, I turned off the mic. I could keep hitting all these things and have a blast with it. Just turn it into a DJ set. Woo. All right. Now, after practice 1, honestly, I just wanted to go straight to pads. I don't need practice 2. I don't need practice 2 tomorrow. I saw practice 1. Practice 2 is going to look just like practice 1 for the most part because they're all going to be the same.
You've got a through line now, though. You got to check out and see if Brock Glenn puts together another great day. That's the job for tomorrow, and that's about it. It sounds like.
Yeah, what if he does? What if it gets funny? What if we get 2 weeks in and we're like, it's not even close?
Well, if that's the case, then we're going to have a very good season because I don't think DJ is a bad quarterback by any stretch. So if Brock is far and away the better quarterback, then we're going places.
And he may not be, and I'm not suggesting that he will be. I just noted he had a really good day and looks further along than he was the last time we saw him for sure. And it was noticeable by everybody. It wasn't just me. Lots of people, we were all kind of looking at each other like, but we've had those days. You remember, that's the thing about these days is when you go to practice, it's no different than any other walk of life. Guys have good days and bad days. Guys are on it and locked in or they're not. Guys feel under the weather some days. Maybe they're at 3/4 speed and you don't realize they're, got a cold or something. And so it changes day to day and it doesn't always mean something. I mean, there were practices we were at where Jordan Travis didn't have a good day and some of the other quarterbacks did. It didn't mean Jordan Travis wasn't going to be the option to start on Saturday. It just means he had a bad Tuesday. But we're all intrigued when you have a new quarterback that is set to start, especially as one that is as known as DJU. We've all seen the very best of him and we've seen the worst of him and everything in between. So we know what he's been. What we don't know is what he'll be for us. And so everybody wants an answer to that question. And, you're not going to get it on day one. He had a fine day. DJ didn't, I wasn't watching practice thinking to myself, my God, sir. No, there was nothing like that. He looked fine. It's just that Brock looked the best of the bunch today. And it looked like he was in a really good rhythm. Just hit every kind of throw underneath. He hit that seam route. He hit out in the flats on time. Couple really beautiful back shoulder deep balls. Had one where he led a receiver away from coverage for a touchdown. He had some really nice moments. That's all.
That's happened before in practice with Brock, even in a short time. He can take over a sequence, and you can say it could be a day where they do 11 on 11, and it's maybe 5 periods worth, and so every team, first team, second team, third team, gets it like 2 drives, and he'll dominate on his 2 drives. And you go, whoa, where the hell did that come from? Good Lord! And so it doesn't surprise me to hear that he's had a good day like this, and that he's elevating. And he wants to play. This isn't what there are some times, perhaps the recent history, where a quarterback he's chill, he's happy. My development is on track. I'm not supposed to be the guy for a little bit of time here. Right. And there are actually a couple of examples in recent history at Florida State where that has been the case. Brock, you can tell, really wants to play, and so that's good. If you put us in a place where, like Mike Norvell said at the end of practice today, I thought both quarterbacks look good. Well, all of them, including Luke. But if he has to say that, that means that even if you are down a quarterback for a drive or a quarter, the drop-off shouldn't be that large. I'd rather be in that place, like you're talking about, Perhaps if he continues to play well, you have uncomfortable conversations about who should be the one. But I like to be in a position where, all right, if we're without this guy for just a little stretch, everything's going to be okay. We've got somebody calm behind him. We saw what the drop-off was last year. I don't want the drop-off to be like what it was last year.
Matt Lasser and I, Matt, who's on staff with us here at Warchant, does a great job. We were talking in the midst of Brock's like heater that he was on. He had a succession of throws, Tom, that were as good as they get. I mean, just like probably about 5 or 6 in a row. And I said something about it, and he goes, "You're going to be the one to ask him that question?" Because, you really can't go there, not in that way. Like, Mike is going to stare holes through you because you put him in a bad spot in that situation. So he's going to be like, yeah, I thought Brock played well. So did the other guys. That's how he's going to – that's what he's going to do. He's not going to really want to have that conversation because you make him kind of jump through hoops in that moment to ensure that everybody feels good about themselves.
Yeah, and there will be ups and downs for every single player in this camp. I think that's the other important thing to stress. The first scrimmage, it looks like, is not until August the 3rd. So for me to be in a position where I go, well, is if we get to the evening of August the 3rd, Mike will be available for that night at some point for everybody who's curious. That'll be an evening scrimmage. They probably go into Doak, be my guess, if the weather cooperates. If around 10 o'clock that night you're hearing, "Hey guys, Brock looked great in the scrimmage," I will be like you were in the first segment, but that's a week and a half away. Away.
There's a long time between now and the end of camp and when we all get set to go. It does feel real now, though. Now that we've started this thing, the campaign is underway for Florida State. And I am intrigued because of all of the questions we've asked throughout the summer. Now you get some answers on a daily basis. Now you start to put together weeks that matter where you got actual football being played. It lends context. You can talk about, hey, I thought this was going to play out this way. It doesn't look like that's happening. One of the things that came up today that I think is another aspect of why I'm excited about the future of the program. They have so many guys that aren't expected to contribute in a huge way this year that you can't wait to see play. And that was always the way it was. When Florida State was operating at peak efficiency, you always had the next group that you couldn't help but sort of daydream about. You'd watch the starters. You knew those were the starters. You appreciated what they brought to the table, how good they were, and the expectations for them. But every now and then, just because somebody was so highly touted, well thought of, and was, really clearly on a path to be a huge player for the program, you'd try to wonder in your mind. You'd look at it and think, I wonder how he'll handle this. And, man, he's really equipped to do this, and they should probably use him this way. And you would just daydream about it. When you don't have an influx of a bunch of good players and all you have is a good 11 on offense or a good 11 on defense, a good 22, and there's nobody pushing those guys, you're not really allowed to daydream about what the future looks like. You're just thinking, I hope none of these guys get hurt. This group here is all right. After that, whole lot of nothing. And that's where we were a couple of years ago, and we are so far removed from that now. Now when you watch practice or you go out there and you just observe, you think, well, I know that's so-and-so. He's going to start this year, but, man, I bet you next year this guy – you do it with, like, Kirkland and guys like that. Yep. You just look out there and you think, woo, that's different. That's different.
So doing observations and writing stuff down, I knew that when Duffy came out and was leading the offense, I could probably fill in any gaps. I was like, this is time for me to fill in the gaps of the periods that just came, so I don't forget. Well, not in the beginning. In the beginning, it was, okay, let's document what this kid's doing. And after a while, I'm saying to myself, no, not going
to be the guy. Not going to be the guy.
It's Tate, and there's a gulf. So this is the time where I can put some notes down. That's just not so. That's just not so right now. Everybody that's on the field, you have to be locked in because there are insights to come. And even though right now, after day one, Mike Norvell is talking as though, and you are echoing that with your own eye, what you saw with your own eyes, that it's quarterback 1, quarterback 2, pause, quarterback 3, quarterback 4. Man, Kromenhoek has tons of skill. and he's got tons of upside, and you can see it. Looks like they're cleaning up the throwing motion from what I could see on Warchant TV.
Yeah, it did rear its ugly head again, though. There were a couple of moments where I was like, God, we got to get that hitch out of that giddy up, buddy. That ain't going to get it done. We got to get the hitch out the giddy up.
When he figures it out, though, and it starts to click, I mean, that's going to get fun. And you want to watch that journey. You want to document that journey because he's got high upside. So, and that's the case at more position groups. I just point at quarterback because it's easy. It's easier to focus on that. But I did that with the O-line and the D-line, too. There are plenty of one-on-ones or combo drills or run game drills where I'm saying, well, that rep's not important. What can I draw? What can I write about the previous rep so I remember stuff better? You can't do that anymore. They got the depth. That's the way it should be.
Tried and True is a payments and business solutions company that is owned and operated by fellow Noles, Don and Joe, ready to ensure you maximize your bottom line. That's a good thing when you hear it, whether it's credit card and ACH solutions, point of sale, mobile, online transactions, video menu ad boards, or other business solutions like payroll, IT services, web, and social optimization. They got it all at Tried and True. Expert advice and solutions that will positively impact all businesses in all industries. I'm excited to share that my friends at Tried and True Consulting are here in town yet again this week. They may be coming to call on you. Give them a good listen. They're going to make you money. Time for your business and Battles In to win together, by the way. 10% of net revenue that they get at Tried and True Consulting goes to the Battles In. Call Don or Joe today, 844-464-6653. That's 844-I'm-4-NOL.
Your local news now.
A Tallahassee man is behind bars after he allegedly kidnapped and sexually assaulted a 3-year-old girl. Charles Hickson is charged with sexual battery on a child younger than 12 and kidnapping a child younger than 13, according to court documents. Hickson watched 4 kids on Saturday night, including the 3-year-old girl who has autism and is nonverbal. Hickson is accused of allegedly taking the child to his own home and assaulting her. The girl's mother found Hickson with the girl. Prosecutors could seek the death penalty. 211 Big Ben, a Tallahassee-based suicide and crisis prevention hotline, is hoping to improve response times for the 988 Suicide Crisis Hotline. The state of Florida is struggling to meet a 90% answer goal, with additional counselors needed to keep up with the calls. 211 Big Ben hired 5 new 988 counselors, with 2 designated to work overnight. Hiring more counselors will help them respond to the nearly 400 calls they get per month. This is Rachel Lene with your Real Talk 93.3 local news update, brought to you by Macklemore Systems, Tallahassee's go-to Mac store. Check them out online at MacklemoreSystems.com.
This is meteorologist Paul Trombley with your Real Talk 93.3 weather update. Thunderstorms likely this afternoon. Otherwise, cloudy skies expected. Highs around 90. Winds out of the south, 5 to 10 miles per hour. Mainly cloudy skies expected tonight. Chance of thunderstorms. Lows dip down to about 75. Chance for storms tomorrow. Daytime highs approaching 89. Mainly cloudy skies. This report is brought to you by the Lawn Johns. For all your landscaping and lawn care needs, visit thelawnjohns.com. Currently, it's 80 degrees.
Hey, this is for my homeowner friends out there. You know who you are. When you get your grass cut, you're going to inspect the work, make sure it's good. Get your house painted, check around every corner and edge, make sure that's done right. Get a new roof, got to get eyes on those shimmering new shingles. Get your septic tank cleaned. Bet you're not popping your head down in there to take a look around. You got to trust it's done right. I'll make it easy. Go see my friend Greg Miller Septic. They're my guys. I trust them, and you can too. MillerSeptic.com. That's it. That's the commercial. That's the whole thing. Check them out. That's MillerSeptic.com. There he is. Haven't seen this guy since, what was it? Oh, shoot. U2 at the Sphere in Las Vegas, baby.
Hey, how about that, man? Wasn't that fun?
Good show. Good show. Everything about it. Nearly perfect. Nearly perfect.
I had everything I could possibly want.
I wanted one thing, couldn't find it, and I looked everywhere. No Cubans.
What do you mean?
No Cubans.
There was Cubans.
No, I didn't see any Cubans.
Dude,
no.
I'm sure there was Cubans there. I mean, you know.
No. I walked around. There was a moment right before the show. I thought, got to find some Cubans. Nothing.
Dude, there's Cubans. There was Cubans. I'm sure there was Cubans.
In Las Vegas?
In Las Vegas.
No Cubans in Vegas.
There's Cubans in Vegas, man.
Eddie, there were no Cubans.
Chef.
The sandwich. There were no Cuban sandwiches. You're Cuban. Of course I know there were Cubans there.
Oh, the sandwich. Yeah, no, there probably wasn't many there in Vegas.
No Cubans.
No, not yet.
Gordo's, bringing the flavor and flair of Cuban food to Tallahassee since 1996.
The Jeff Cameron Show is a production of the Warchant.com Multimedia Network. Check out Warchant.com today for the latest news inside Florida State athletics. That's Warchant.com. Now, back to Jeff on Real Talk 93.3.
I was calm about it. I was calm about that glaring air by yours truly. I forget sometimes the news is so short and also terribly depressing at all times. So I just block it out.
I needed a break from that story too. It just kept going. Like, can we just get a 10-second version of that, please?
I don't need any version of the one about the guy molested somebody.
Yeah,
I said, no, we don't need any version of that. Accidentally shoot that dude in the head. I mean, what are we doing? That was awful.
Like Marvin in the beginning of Pulp Fiction. Yeah.
Yeah. It was an accident. Well, sure. Got it. Yeah, absolutely. Whew. No thanks, everybody. No thanks. What's that score? Do I need to check this? I know you guys care. All right. 5-0 Buccos in the 7th. Looks like we're going to go on and win a series against the Cardinals here after screwing Skeens last night.
Good Lord, 5 runs. It's like Iowa football scoring 14.
14. It's nuts. I don't know where 5 runs come from. That must have just been Air City from St. Louis. I have to check. I know that Roddy Tellez hit one into the river. That'll happen every now and again. That guy went from being the worst player in baseball to a huge asset this year. I've not seen anybody have a year like that in a very long time anyhow. I mean, Tom, that dude was literally hitting under 100 for much of the first half of the season. We would go stretches where he couldn't foul a pitch off, and I would almost cry on my couch when I would watch as he came up with runners at first and second and 1 out, knowing there was zero chance a ball was going to be hit into the field of play in any way. And now, basically, in the last month and a half, has been the best hitter in baseball. It's insane. I don't know where that kind of moxie and confidence comes from after failing miserably for so long, but it came out of nowhere, and now it's almost like they figured out he needed contacts or something.
Yeah, well, that's happened to Jeff McNeil, known as McSuck up here. He has 4 home runs since the All-Star break. 4 in 5.
Like, where's this coming from?
He said, well, I've been trying to guide the ball, and now I'm just trying to swing hard. Okay, whatever. Sounds
Whatever
good.
gets you through the night, buddy. Whatever you got to do, just keep playing. Yeah. I know it is. I know how it is, buddy. I know how it is. Feel free with questions throughout this week, by the way, the rest of it, guys. We continue to be excited to be able to go out there. And Mike's practice policies are, again, lauded by us all, because from the very first moment of a practice to the very end and the post, we have all the access, and those players are so well. I never mentioned this, but if you're going to open your doors to the press and you're going to have people covering you as intimately as he allows this group of media to cover his program, you have to be, as he is, very confident in what it is you're doing, right? You have to be a big believer that the way you operate your program is the right way, and that it's going to be showcased. A light is going to be shown on what you do and how you do it. So you got to trust all your coaches to be on point, on message, and you got to trust all of your players to be able to handle that kind of scrutiny as well. And that's the part, Tom, I don't remember a time, really, it's very, very rarely do we ever come across these opportunities to talk with players where you don't come away fairly impressed with their messaging, the way they view their maturity, the way they view the program, the way they view their coaching, the way they view their teammates. It's all very impressive. I mean that sincerely. It's surprising, because normally when you get this much access to anything, you're going to discover the warts. You're going to see some things that you're like, yeah, I'm not saying they're perfect. I'm not saying they're the best coaching staff in the world. I'm not saying all these players are better than everybody in the world. I'm just saying it's very impressive the way this thing operates with as much access as we have. You never really come across any of those things.
Scouting's more than just film, and they do a good job of it.
The Seminole Yankee, John. Okay, there we go. In watching the video of the quarterbacks throwing to receivers, it looked like the receivers were small. Am I seeing that right? How big are our receivers? Well, Portier is big. Hakeem Williams is big. That they don't have a ton of really big receivers. I will say, I guess, define your terms. they went out and brought in some speedsters as well. So if you're watching and you catch a video clip of them throwing to maybe, if they're throwing the ball out of the backfield to like a Jalen Lucas, he's tiny. Jalen Brown, on the other hand, the wide receiver that came in from LSU, not a big receiver. He's 6 feet tall, something like that. He's a burner. He's a slot guy. Portier's a big guy. If Destin were healthy, he's not small. He's not big, but he's not small. Hakeem is very big.
Yeah, I think,
and I will say Darion Williamson is a big, big kid. I don't know if he's going to play and impact this group. When he's healthy, sometimes he impresses you at practice because he has that big body. I root for that guy because he's been riddled with injury. But if he plays a significant role at all to go along with Portier and Hakeem, well, then you're counting on 6'4", 6'4", 6'3", and Kyle Morlock at 6'7", and Landon Thomas at 6'4". Now all of a sudden you've got that's a big group to throw to.
Yeah, agreed. I think what we get, John, is most of those periods that we have access to film, they're throwing just to the running backs. The receivers are in their own drills. So I think what you're seeing is a lot of the backs. And the backs aren't tall, and they really shouldn't be by nature, very tall. But, we get 3 out of the first 4 periods to be able to shoot. Yeah. And usually the receivers are in their individual drills. And there was a lot of film today of them going through the sled. And there was one kid who caught my eye just because he's strong as hell. He's not one of the frontline receivers that we signed this past class, but it's BJ Gibson, who's 6 foot, 193, freshman out of Rochelle, Georgia. He wears number 80. If nothing else, that dude chucked the sled like he was 24 years old and had been working on this program forever. So, who the hell is that? But yeah, mostly the receivers are working in individualized groups, and there is some crossover with the quarterbacks early on when we can film, but that happens mostly after that part of the access is shut down.
James B. asks, I'm curious about Daniel Lyons. How is he moving? Not much to see today, James B. I'm not going to say that I saw anything that resonated with me. Again, I'll get you a report on all of our interior and our interior defensive linemen and offensive linemen. I'll talk about the lines of scrimmage in general once they put the pads on. It doesn't do us. There's nothing really today. I get you can see how a guy's moving, but today, not really anything stood out to me about that. So I'll check in on Daniel Lyons. Practice schedule for now, 9 a.m. every morning?
Yeah, I can answer that. So they're going 3 days this week, today, tomorrow, Friday, and then they take Saturday off. They practice Sunday. So by the time we hit the air, and they're practicing Monday. So the next few days worth of shows, there's a Seminole headlines tomorrow here on the channel at 1:00, not a JCS. We can get those guys in at bat, and they've all seen practice. All 3 of you at that point will have seen practice. You're reacting tomorrow, you're reacting Friday, and then my assumption is Sunday, Monday are pads. So yeah, there's a lot coming in the next few days. Only Saturday off for the next little stretch.
Let's get it on, buddy. That is going to be exciting. I look forward to it. Corey and I were there today. Really the whole staff. Ira was not. He's flying back in today, and we'll have an opportunity he'll get to see practice tomorrow, and then we'll do headlines, as Tom just said, and normal JCS on Friday. I really wish more than usual. I always wish this, but more than usual, I really, really wish we had access to the scrimmages. I know they won't let us do that, and that's always been the case. But, buddy, I sure would like to see these scrimmages because you have so many guys vying for more reps, starting spots. You have so many guys that have real talent, but you haven't yet had to see them be the guy, and I want to see how quickly they're emerging in that role.
It's almost like you could break it up and do a scrimmage for the 1s and 2s and a scrimmage for the 3s and 4s. You're starting to get enough depth because there's not a whole lot of time. You're using a scrimmage as one couple-hour practice. That's not easy to get everybody in and get everybody reps. But again, to put it another way, the scrimmage, the first one, is 2 Saturdays from now. It's August 3rd. They have this Saturday off, next Wednesday off. They're doing something every day through the scrimmage number 1 next Saturday. So it's going to be busy.
They're doing their Jacksonville trip as well, right?
They are. That they're doing, actually, when I'm down, that's unlucky. Wednesday the 7th and Thursday the 8th of August, they'll be at UNF.
Yeah, I never go over to that one. I never will. No reason to be over there. I'm glad other people go. That's fine. I don't know why, for whatever reason, and I think this is true of each of the last 2 years, and I think Aslan said this to me, But for some reason, did we just lose? No. Okay, we're good. There's a little flicker in here, Tom. It's the afternoons. You know how it is in Tallahassee, buddy.
I'm still talking to you. That's a good sign.
Afternoons in Tallahassee. We got another one coming, I'm sure. Anyhow, for whatever reason, whenever they go over to North Florida, it's 1,000 degrees. Like everybody's dying out on my practice field, and I'm always like, yep, better you than me. Good work, Tom. Say goodbye to everybody.
Goodbye to everybody.
There you go. Be well. As Tom mentioned, tomorrow, Seminole headlines, and then I'll be back on Friday. And I know you guys care. Oh, look at that. I'm going to wake up Warchant this evening tonight at 7 p.m. on Warchant TV. 5-0 in the 8th for the Buccos, Tom. Mets got to keep pace. I don't know if they can. We'll see. Be good. Until next time. Peace.
Surprising.